Hey everybody, Pacific Northwest Gamer here, and I want to talk to you about a semi-new podcast. A little different than the normal things I come at you with, but I love this podcast so much. I mean, it has made me laugh hysterically on my drives to and from work, even shed a tear when a character died. I mean, the storytelling is just magnificent. So today I'm talking to you about Tavern of Heroes, the podcast. So Tavern of Heroes is a real play podcast developed by Micheal and Stephen Stagliano. And boy, do these guys have energy and talent when it comes to storytelling and story writing and creating characters. It just syncs up so well. They created their own system, and it's just a fantastic home-created, homebrew system to make things just simpler for the listener. And they play as heroes from the Tavern of Heroes in a magical land called Elderon. And there's a king who kind of set up this tavern that has heroes that can be called on by the people or the king himself to hunt down evil and deal with problems throughout the whole kingdom. So let's talk about the gameplay. So there's usually one story master, and a lot of times Micheal and Stephen switch off in that role, and the other one will play as a character, and then they will have a guest spot on there as another one of their rotating heroes comes in and goes on a different mission. They use kind of a percentage die in their system for their role-playing game, rather than using, I mean, my background in role-playing is with Fantasy Flight system, with the Star Wars system, and so you have all these different dies with all these different symbols, and you got to memorize what all those mean, and then you got to add that to your skill to figure out, okay, well, how many dice do I get to roll in this situation? Or, you know, the D&D system, which I've heard about and never played, which seems to be you roll a die and add it to your character's stat. So a little bit more like that. But they actually use kind of this percentage die. And so it has 100 all the way down to 10. And so your success is going to be based on how well you can roll that die. And then if it's a combat situation, you then are rolling D6s for the damage you're going to do. And it just really breaks down really smooth for the listener to pick up quickly and not have to worry about trying to figure out, well, what does this character have for this? They tell you about their special abilities, and then they just add the number of the die to their character sheet and keep moving and keep flowing. And it's incredible. So what's really unique about this podcast is that it was home created by these two brothers who are also twins, which sometimes is infuriating for me because I cannot tell them a different, when I'm listening to them, they sound so similar, but they created the system because they love role-playing games, and one of the biggest things they wanted to do was trying to get people who normally don't play role-playing games into these, and they tried to create a simple system that people who have no experience with this can just jump in and play really easily, and it works perfectly. And you'll hear the rotating cast come in with their different backgrounds, some of them playing different role-playing systems and some having zero experience and being able to jump in with no trouble at all, and it's seamless, like I said. So the other thing that's really unique about this is that they created this entire world that they play through. And so you have all these different lands. You even have like religious systems that they created, which is really cool. It's broken down into 3 gods that people worship. And you have Shia, who is the god of the light. And a lot of the Tavern of Heroes follow Shia because she is what is goodness. And then there's Manon, who is the god of death and evil. And so they usually fight people who worship Manon. And then there's They briefly described him as like the god of time, that rarely is worshipped or brought up. But I'd love for them to dig into that more, because I thought that was a really unique part of this game, is just the backstory of all these towns and religions and people groups. And they really dig into all that, and it's just great storytelling. Another reason they created this podcast is because they were tired of not being able to get their Pathfinder and D&D groups together on a regular basis, because with these other role-playing systems, you have long campaigns you're going through with stories taking up multiple hours upon hours to even get to a conclusion of a single story. And they really wanted this system to bring out the simplification of it, and that is evident because each episode is usually a part 1 of 2. So you'll get one story between 2 episodes, and they release an episode every Wednesday. So usually you'll get a part 1 and you'll get kind of the intro to the story of like what they're doing, and then they'll probably fight something for a little bit and then find out, oh, that's not the real big bad in this episode, and then end with introducing the real big bad, and then they go toe to toe with that foe in the following episode and then conclude it. So it's really easy to digest these stories, really easy to get into them, and they really just reached out to me early on and were like, just give us a listen. And I had no expectations, didn't really think it was going to be that great, just was like, sure, yeah, I'll give it a listen, and have just been astounded with everything I have seen so far, and just can't get enough of it. Like, I am just freaking out. Like, when is Wednesday coming? Because I want to know what happens in this story. I want to know what new story they're going to dive into. And it's just enthralling. So currently they have a Patreon that just went up to make sure that this podcast can continue. They put out dozens of episodes for free on anywhere you can listen to podcasts. You'll find them. I was listening on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever you call that. But then I switched to the dark side, and now I have a Galaxy, so I listen on just another program I found. So there's just tons of places you can find them. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you'll be able to find it. But they started this Patreon to kind of, you know, pay for what they're doing and also give back to the community. So if you give them a listen and you like it, you'll hear about their Patreon, and you should definitely join it. I've joined it. It's not even that expensive. They have $5, $10, and $25 levels each month, and you can get character art unique sent to you, drawn up. They're hoping to release a second podcast that you'd get as part of that. You can also get character sheets to play the game with your friends and then get back to them on how that went, so they can better create this game to release it to the public so you can play it, the system that they have created. And then the $25 level, which is the biggest one, you get to actually play with them, I'm assuming via like Skype, when I think twice a year is what they're saying. So that's pretty cool. But you can find them anywhere you listen to podcasts. So just give them a listen, see what you think. It's really engaging and easy to digest, and they're an hour long, so you can get through them pretty quick, and they come out once a week. They have incredible stories and characters, from crazy sorcerers who are ancient and they're fighting and their bones are cracking while they do that because they're so old, and it just becomes this huge laugh throughout it. Just everything about this podcast just keeps me coming back. And the Stagliano brothers didn't reach out to me and ask me to do this. This is just something that I'm so in love with that I want you to know about it, so you can listen to it too and enjoy what I'm enjoying, because it's so great. And if you feel the same way I do about this, then you'll want to become a Patreon member to support them doing this. So check it out. Anywhere you can find podcasts. They're on Instagram under Tavern of Heroes, Twitter I think is under M. Nightbringer, which is Millar Nightbringer, who is the kind of leader of the Tavern of Heroes. He's the one sending people out on missions. So that's, I think, why that Twitter handle is what it is. And yeah, check it out. Well, thank you for watching. As always, I'm Pacific Northwest Gamer, just trying to bring you new, fresh content, working to bring you reviews of gaming locations in the Pacific Northwest, Kickstarter games that are out there that you should know about, talking about unboxings of the latest and greatest games, and now talking about role-playing. So just expanding what I'm doing, and if you like it, please subscribe, please click the like button, and shoot me a comment. Thanks.